miles away from the nearest Starbucks amidst 30,000 people who aren't your dear Auntie Anne, and beside a relatively flourishing population of mouflon, which are distinguished as red-haired mountain sheep, moderately well known for being the first ever successfully cloned endangered mammal to survive beyond infancy, and even more well known as the mascot for the Cyprus National Rugby Team. Though it's still debatable as to whether the mouflon authorized or even support the rugby players, I digress. My name is Kingsley, and I take a certain interest in the events of long ago. As a historian, I find myself immeasurably fascinated by dark twists of fate, scheming plots of deceits, and a good game of go fish. Luckily for us in this dismal tale, it includes all three elements. On any other day, one might find themselves a narrow strip of the beach to begin their daily tanning routine, or they'll stare out inside their cozy villa, likely playing this previously mentioned game of fish going. But on this particularly dreary April day in the year 1814, infamous Conqueror Napoleon Bonaparte felt like doing none of these things. In fact, Napoleon felt like doing absolutely nothing for a very, very long time. Fuille was a blunt man, in an admirable sort of way. Strong, iron-willed, and adept at being able to hold his breath for long periods of time. Fuille was an asset to the emperor during his long period of exile. My reports state that he was a glass-half-full sort of man. However, in dealing with a situation like Napoleon, it has since been agreed that the guardsman was likely ignorant of Napoleon's sour mood.
I was just reading this traveling pamphlet about the wildlife here, and there is a species of sheep I think you'd be particularly interested in.
Fuille,
Yes, sir.
how long have you been acting as my guard?
About a half a year, I think, sir.
You're a witness to my outputting, my sudden retirement. You know what I mean.
Well, I guess you could call it that, sir. I definitely watched the putting out part at least.
You do realize I've lost everything, right?
Well, supposedly you're to receive a crate of letters every Tuesday and Thursday containing fan mail from your ex-subjects, and I believe the British government allows you to have newspapers every now and again, so there's that.
Fantastic.
As any one of you could tell quite clearly, this was by no means fantastic for the dethroned emperor. In fact, any one of you could tell quite clearly that he was feeling quite the opposite of fantastic. But Fuille was not one of you, nor was he very good at picking up subtextual hints.
I must say, the letters, the long, lonely nights, the slightly odorous smell of a man who no longer has the drive to look pleasing to the eye. It's like friends with your sweetheart or something.
Don't make it weird, Fuille.
Deriving from what I've been able to gather over years' worth of poring over books, not much is said in history about Axel, Napoleon's second commanding guard. This may be because Napoleon could barely tolerate the man, due to the fact that he was a miserable dolt. Though he supposedly was wicked clever at card games and had a knack of foretelling when it was to rain. Or else because he earned himself another title, rising to a fame so glorious that scarce few could ever forget his legacy. For Axel's sake, I would like to think the latter possibility is true. For Napoleon's, well...
Have you guys seen this layout? Nice place! Nice place! You know, normally I don't travel staying in the palace, you know, standing about and doing the little things, but this is neat! Real different! Hardly any people, but lots of grass! And wouldn't you believe it, but I was walking up this cliff, or like a hill, or a pile of dirt or something, and I saw this sheep! But it was red and it had these horns coming out.
Actually, enough about the damn mufflin. I've got 3 people talking about it now.
3 people, sir, but there's only 2 other people here besides the island natives. Are you sure you're not going crazy?
I very well might be going
Highness.
You two don't understand an inkling of it, do you? You have no idea what it's like ruling a vast, expanding empire, do you?
I'm gonna have to think about that one. Define empire.
For God's sakes, I'm stuck in purgatory with the two stooges of my time to live day in and day out here on an island without any means of communication beyond months on a boat and little means of keeping clean beyond palm fronds for toilet paper.
Actually, I was handed this pamphlet, so unless the island natives have magic powers that can bring paper out of thin air, I'm pretty sure they have discovered, albeit recently, how to convert palm fronds into pressed paper. But t-shirts for having some digestive problems.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Who are the Stooges? And if you were stuck in purgatory, couldn't we just step out of it?
Purgatory! It's purgatory, you miserable dolt! And I am having a crisis, so if you two would just stop interrupting me! They thought they were done with me. They thought they could cast me out like yesterday's garbage. Nobody appreciates all I've done for them. The Egyptian exhibition, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th coalitions, the Peninsular War, all magnificent ground plans, tactics, invasions showing French military strength, commanded and executed by me.
The invasion of Russia?
Neither here nor there, so you couldn't possibly understand the amount of distance we covered, the epic battles we fought.
The frozen feet we amputated!
That's enough! If you two don't respect me enough as your emperor, then I have no other use for you. I can dispose of you like that, and I'll have lost nothing. I could toss you into the sea with the sharks. I could slice you into little pieces in an actual 2-to-1. I could force you to drink the river water and suffer through dysentery!
Sorry, boss. Yeah, we just think it's sort of, well, hopeless at this point. I mean, why can't we just enjoy the countryside and try to live a quiet life without the guilty pleasure of conquering? Look at it this way. There's no one to worry about but yourself from now on, sir.
I can't. I don't want to.
It's a process.
But we can find help. We can get through this together. Complete abstinence is better than perfect moderation.
Who said that?
St. Augustine of Hippo.
You don't need to worry about that now. The past is in the past. There's no use trying to relive the glory days. Perhaps you could go walk the hills like Axel did.
Yeah, maybe I can hunt you down like a mouflon or something, and we can cook it in like a mutton stew.
See, there's so many great stuff to do here. I mean, like so many. And we'll always be here beside you.
Yeah, we'll always be there for you.
I suppose you're right.
And from what we know, the natives have paper.
Thank God.
Now, would you like to join us for a game of Go Fish? Axel has been dying to play the entire boat ride.
No, I think right now I'll stare into the sea, do some deep existential contemplation.
Yeah, whatever you say, man.
Do you have any?
Wait a minute! What if my golden days aren't over? What if they've just begun? What if we stowed away upon the next ship carrying supplies, returned to France, reclaimed the emperor, and fought back against that
having a valid opinion.
That's it then. We settle the plans off stage.
What?
Come on.
In Napoleon's time, they say, none could think of a more terrible, more brutally devastating defeat than the Battle of Waterloo. However, few take into consideration that this battle must have been the very hopes and prayers of the Prussian and English peoples. It was the end to Napoleon's tyranny, his final actual attempt to make something of himself again. However, few take into consideration that most of the French thought of Napoleon as their hero, someone who would lead them into glory. However, others take into consideration that Napoleon might have been a way to reach true. However, others on the other side of the world, like the have little say, much less little care about the matter, for the bickering of people who had no means to conquer any of their own territory. However, Napoleon himself didn't have much to say on the matter. Not many actually cared for Napoleon's own genuine thoughts on things he found important. Few knew he was a lover for the stars or cooked magnets. For his knitting projects. But I digress. The long and the short of it is that Napoleon somehow managed to reclaim his empire in one way or another. At least a complete and total failure. Worse off than he was. Napoleon was shipped back with his two companions to live out the rest of his life in exile. Again. Their exact location was the Isle of St. Helena, territory owned by the English. One of the remotest islands left on Earth, St. Helena is home to many remarkable geographic configurations. President of the Court of Appeal for St. Helena, Sir Alistair Forbes, and variously colored boobies. Though many of the birds inhabiting the island have gone extinct, the boobies appear undeterred from man's ignorant hunts, and apparently aren't that tasty. But I digress. Napoleon landed in the year of 1815, as soaked and as unhappy as he was before. Perhaps even more so.
Well, there's not much to see here, sir.
So I can tell.
But according to this pamphlet one of the Englishmen handed me earlier, there are several sightseeing locations, including Boatswain Bird Island with its red-footed boobies. Boobies. And other assorted locations not infested with rats and cats, because apparently those run pretty rampant around here. Rats and cats.
You'd think that the rats would eat all the cats because, wait. I mean the cats would eat the rats.
Not unless the rats were big enough to eat the cats, in which case the situation might make more sense.
But like, rats have a super high reproduction rate, right? So I think that the rats would outnumber the cats pretty quickly. And then all the rats would be after all the cats, and all the cats would
Shut up! Why don't you give that Rubik's Cube and that block of wood you call your brains a rest?
Hey, maybe you can come up with another great plan like you did last time, and then we can escape on another boat, and we can fight and defeat you again. That was
that.
Oh, don't think of it like that, little buddy. Just think of it as your parents leaving you for a long vacation where they're likely never coming back.
Thanks for clearing that up for me, Fuille.
Just doing my part, Grace. Here, but we can play the father, and I can play the mother. All right, roly poly, it's time for Mumsy and Popsicle to go on a little trip.
For God's sakes! At least have some decency when wishing your superior a final goodbye.
Sorry, man. Well, it was good serving under you, Mr. Bonaparte.
It's Bonaparte. And it was a pleasure having you as my right-hand man, even though I did want to infect you with dysentery a few times.
There's one done. I'm gonna miss you, ma'am!
And I suppose I will miss you too.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget to write.
Probably won't.
What? I won't forget it won't write.
Both.
What?
He's
Why?
saying he won't write.
Well, why on earth not?
Well, we could write and forget that we wrote.
Or we could remember and then choose not to write anyway.
Well, why would you do that?
Well, 19th century postal service kinda sucks.
Oh, we've made such vast improvements.
Considering the large percentage of papers lost due to storms and unexpected water turbulence, improvements have been minimal.
Besides, you've probably got lots of fan mail. We would just be adding to the load.